Um, I'm actually another question. Um, I grasp the concept now that I've talked to you, and I hope other viewers will as well. However, with that said, what are the benefits of someone or some persons reading this book? What would they get from it?
The benefits. The benefits are clear. Like I stated earlier, we all have dreams, we all have goals, we all have wishes. It doesn't matter how old you are still dreaming. You are still wishing. You still have goals. They might be low goals, they might be small wishes, they may be small dreams, but you're still dreaming, you're still wishing, you still have goals. The benefits is we all want to live. We all have a sense of purpose in our life. But the thing is, we when we run up against obstacles, we get discouraged saying, you know what? I am just going to be like everybody else. William James, the great psychologist, he said, no, excuse me, it wasn't William James, it was Albert Schweitzer, the one who won the Nobel Peace Prize. A question was asked to him, what is wrong with men today? He said, he thought about it, he said, you know what? Men don't think. He said, men refuse to think. And then he went on to say, he said, in our society, he said, the opposite of courage is not fear. The opposite of courage is conformity. And that's what you have in our society. You have a lot of people who have just decided to conform. Easy being easy. I always say this, that, if you follow the crowd, you will eventually get lost. And the benefits is that not only you no longer will go from following the crowd, you will go from following the crowd to what? Leading the crowd. And that's what the benefits are to reading this book.
Great. I love that answer. I'm looking forward to reading this book now more than ever with that response. So I gotta ask you this question right here. Are there other projects that you're working on?
I am the proud founder and CEO of Fathers Rock Incorporated. It's a nonprofit organization catered to strengthening our communities by rebuilding fathers, by reconnecting fathers. So not only am I working on the book, I'm also working in the community as far as connecting fathers and rebuilding families. And this is another thing about this book. In our culture, in our society, there are so many broken homes. There are so many dysfunctional homes. How do I know I was brought up in one? I grew up in a dysfunctional household. And this book is going to touch on people who were brought up in all areas of their lives. But the organization is clearly designed to rebuild fathers and connect fathers and rebuild families. To remove the inadequacy that a lot of our fathers deal with on a day-to-day basis. How do I know? I was one of them. I dealt with feeling inadequate. I dealt with feeling guilty. I dealt with feeling less than. I dealt with having low to no self-esteem. I dealt with having the inability to support and provide for my family. So the other project I'm working on, along with a few other community partners, working with children throughout the city of Baltimore, connecting them with their fathers that are incarcerated.
That's very, very interesting. I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to have to talk to you about something else. But I'm going to stay on this. You have a lot of projects and hats you're wearing. So I'm just curious, during your writing process, do you ever encounter writer's block?
I encounter writer's block. Yes, I do. I would be a fool and a liar to sit here and say I don't encounter writer's block.
Okay, so for, let's say, someone who's watching this, who is an inspiring writer, author, would you give them any advice on how to avoid writer's block?
Not only am I a writer, I'm also a speaker. It's a form of art. Writing, you freelancing, speaking, I'm a freelancer speaker. What I tend to do, I tend to take myself there. If you understand what I'm saying. I tend to take myself there mentally. When I wrote the book, I actually turned off all the lights and took myself to my childhood. Took myself to the hurts, the pain, the pleasures, the joys. And out of that, up came out of me the book. Out of that, up comes out of me speaking to you right now in your living room, your iPad, your iPod, on YouTube. And you just have to take yourself there. I know it may be difficult. Eliminate distractions. You know, and many times I wish I had a log cabin up in the mountains somewhere where it could just be me, myself, the little elks, and the snow. So I could remove myself. The best thing I would say, remove yourself from all distractions, or even try your best to minimize distractions so you can clearly hear from yourself. I spoke to a gentleman earlier. He said he doesn't have a radio in his car. He said he doesn't have a radio in his car so he can clearly hear his thoughts. And I would recommend the same method. Do whatever you need to do so you can clearly hear your thoughts.
Very interesting. I think I'm going to try that. How do you feel about ebook sales versus sales of physical copies?
Well,
like, how are you? I'm not too sure how you trying to reach your consumers. I mean, I would do my best to help, market your talent and whatnot. But I'm curious on how do you feel about ebooks versus physical copies?
Where we moving at with technology, ebooks is where it's at. Electronic books is where it's at. I believe we have the Kindle, we have iPads, and we have we have so many tablets out there. When I travel, I rarely see a physical book. However, a suggestion was made to me when I do go out and speak to carry at least about 20 to 30 books with me. So I would personally push ebooks versus physical hard books.
So it's you would generate more, you would garner more attention and consumers through ebooks.
Yeah. Oh God, yes. You would definitely generate more consumers electronically than physical books. In order, if I wanted to buy, let's say if I wanted to buy my book, get the hard copy of my book, I would have to actually go to a physical location. An ebook, pull up my laptop, go to my website, download it, bam, from the comfort of my own home, and don't have to deal with poor customer service.
I need to invest in the iPad too.
That's one of the greatest things I ever purchased.
All right, so earlier you referenced Paul from the Bible and
yes.
Nobel Prize winner, Mr. Schweitzer.
Yes.
So it led me to believe that you read a lot of books. My question to you is, what are the last 5 books that you've read?
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you, and I'm just putting myself out there. It wasn't until September 22nd, 2011, I read my first book from cover to cover. I did poor in school because of my childhood, but ever since I changed my association with books. I used to look at books as being boring. Now I look at books as being a passport or a tour guide. Downtown Baltimore, there's the Enoch Pratt Library, the Central Library, and I'm so fascinated with what it says outside. It says, your journey begins here. I love that. So therefore, when I read books, what took somebody 20 years, 10 years to learn, I can grasp that knowledge and that wisdom within 2, 3, 4, 5 days. So the last 5 books I have read would be, you don't want the authors, right? That'd be a little too. What? You can just Google it. The Power of Focus, The Go-Giver, The Iron Will, As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. That's one of my favorite books. And the last one is Acres of Diamonds by Russell Conwell, which was the founder and CEO of Temple University. So we have The Power of Focus, Iron Will, The Power of Focus, Iron Will, As a Man Thinketh, Acres of Diamonds, and The Go-Giver.
Okay. I'll be honest, I never read any of those books. However, I think you're a very intriguing individual, and I will be looking up those books very shortly. As a Man Thinketh, you said it's your favorite all-time book?
One of my favorite all-time books.
Can you tell me why?
As a man thinketh, I believe it's in Proverbs. It says, "As a man thinketh, so is he." And in the Bible it says, and I really didn't understand it until I got older. As a man thinketh, instantaneous, so is he. So James Allen wrote this book, a phenomenal book. As you think, we are the sum total of our thoughts from start to finish. And there's one of my favorite quotes. One of my favorite quotes in that book. It says, "Men are anxious to change their circumstances, but are unwilling to change themselves. Therefore, they remain bound." And I love that quote. I love it. It's so powerful because whatever you think, so will you be. You will never, my grandmother, 77-year-old grandmother says this, you will only go as far as your mind take you. So I love that book. It really, really talks about the metaphysics of your brain and how to properly use your mind. You are either the captain or the captive of your thoughts.
So you could be bound by stagnation.
You could be bound by stagnation.
Very interesting.
Very interesting.
I know a plethora of people who are like that, which I myself would like to change their thoughts. And you know what? I'm going to probably get some extra copies of your books and hand it over to them. Ebook wise.
Yes.
All right, so we're about to wrap it up. I just have one more question for you.
Okay.
For the audience to hear, because I'm sure after listening to what you had to say, they're going to want to purchase this book. How much is in your book, and how can someone find your book?
As of right now, the book is going to be $19.95, and they can purchase my book at either fathersrock.com, that's FATHERSROCK.com, or KashuanCooper.com. That is KASHAUNCOOPER.com.